Hi, friends, and welcome to All the Things TV with me, Tiffany Jo Baker, where our heart is to help you grip God's grace, use your gifts, and get your goals, even in your mess and mission. Join us now for this episode of Season 2 of the podcast, where we talk about different areas that we may be on the struggle bus, so you can struggle less and succeed more and do all the things you've been called and created to do. Well, hello, y'all. We are back with All the Things TV with Tiffany Jo Baker. And today we are talking about a struggle that almost 1 in 3 American adults deal with. And that's the singles struggle. About 1 in 3 adults say that they're single, which means either they're not in a committed relationship or they're not married. So that's a lot of peeps, y'all. And I know some, not all of those singles, still desire to be married, have the struggle with church life, ministry life, social life. And so today I couldn't think of anybody better than to bring on Kris Swiatocho. She is the founder of the Singles Network Ministries. I recently had the pleasure of being introduced to her at an event, and y'all, I am just so excited to get for y'all to meet her. This is Kris. Kris, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here, and I love to talk about singleness.
Well, I cannot wait to hear all the things that you have to say. I thought it was really interesting as I posted about this topic coming, had a great response because so many people are single, have been single, or find themselves single and they didn't expect to be in that place maybe years after being in a marriage. Or still being single, and whether or not they're believing for a mate still, it's a season of life, whether a shorter season or a longer season. And so let's just jump right in to the single struggle. And really, if you could share, what are some of the unique struggles that singles have today in many churches?
Well, actually, the numbers, in the 2010 census, we were 54% of the country was not married. And so, like you said, though, but does that mean you're a 22-year-old that's living at home or you're a 70-year-old widow? It does kind of, what's the definition of singleness? But it is tough. I would say the number one is going to be closely competing. One is loneliness, being alone, not wanting to be alone, having to solve all of life's problems. You have, the mortgage is on you, the house has to be cleaned up, the bills have to be paid on you, all the way to that desire for someone in your life. God designed us to want to be married and to be married, but, we're in a broken world. So there's so many longing for that, including myself. I still would like to be married. I haven't completely given up. But I think, a pastor of mine said one day, a couple weeks ago, he said, a lot of people have switched from being hopeful to just coping, that they're not really, they've lost hope of what God is going to do in their life. And for singles who go to church and the church doesn't seem to care, there's not a place for them. The sermons are about family, and they're more focused towards that. The single adult feels left out and alone. And it just emphasizes more so that we don't have anybody.
Well, I know even in some of the churches that I've been a part of, the singles ministry has either been discontinued or fizzled out for a variety of reasons. So, and add on to that, most churches are so marriage and family focused. Right. So how do we support the singles in our lives that we're going to church with or that we work with?
Right. Well, everybody knows somebody who's not married. You have a parent, a child, a cousin, a relative, somebody. One is to know that we don't have leprosy. We don't rub off on married people and cause married people to be single. So I think just as much as married people need to learn about what it is to be single, because unless they die when their spouse dies, they're going to be single. As much as we need to learn about marriage, and we need to see what marriage looks like, especially if you want to be married, it's kind of good to be around married people. So I think one is that we need to have some community together, not all community. I mean, singles need to find others to spend time with, a life stage. But I think it is important that we have community together. Number two is that we have to be a part of the solution, Tiffany, in the church. We got to stop whining and complaining about what the church doesn't have, because the reality in 2,000 years, the church is still led by a married man, average age 45 with 2 kids. But he doesn't get up on Sunday morning and go, oh, I hope to really make singles feel bad today.
True.
He teaches to who he is. And he's also leaving out other demographics. So for me, instead of looking at what the pastor isn't doing, how can I serve in the church? How can I get involved in the church? You know, Jesus was single. Paul was single. Mary, Martha. So many people were single in the Bible, and God used them mightily. Mary Magdalene. Oh my goodness. The first person to share the news of Jesus's risen from the dead was a single lady who at one time was, you know, not in a good way. So if God can show us as singles that we're valuable in the kingdom, and as a result of that value, the church begins to see us as people, not as our marital status. And then when time comes and you say, you know, Pastor, I would love to start a Bible study for those who want to be married. I would love to start a Bible study on, you know, women in the Bible for single women. That pastor is going to be way more likely to say, yes, you know what, Tiffany, that's a great idea. Kris, that's a great idea. Because you've shown the pastor that you're there to serve God and to hear from God, not to just meet your social needs.
That's so good. I love that. I love that, being a part of the solution and working from that mindset instead of a more victim mindset or woe is me mindset. Oh, so good. Okay. So I know I work a lot with couples who are waiting for their baby, right? In the world of infertility. And so I think we all have that thing we're waiting for. And for singles, that thing may be a spouse, their God-given spouse. How do you yourself, and then how do you also teach and speak as you go across the nation, sharing with singles and leadership and things like that? How do you live well while in the wait?
Well, again, it comes back to, you know, it's a place of, you know, humbling yourself before the Lord. It's a place of, God, send me, you know, Isaiah 6:8, you know, how do you want to use me, Lord? And life is short.
Yeah.
And as much as I think God's ideal design was a marriage and children, it hasn't happened. So what do you do in the meantime? Do you sit back and hope the FedEx guy is going to show up and that's going to be your husband? Or do you get out and live life? John 10:10 is right now my life verse. It could change. And I know that the enemy comes at me. I know he wants to destroy the ministry. He wants to destroy yours. He wants to destroy your confidence, your value. He wants to tell you lies. He wants to remind you of your past and that because of your past, you're not valuable today. He wants to tell you that because you're not married, you're not complete. Unlike the movies we hear, right? You know, and so if he whispers all those things, well, that means you need to be rooted in the word so that you can counteract the lies. So when he whispers those lies, and even good-hearted Christians will speak things, you know, like, you know, oh, Kris, God's gonna bring you somebody, you know, and, you know, oh, you know, or what's wrong with you? Are you picky? I go, yeah, I see who you married. I'm very picky.
That's right.
You know, and so they mean well, but sometimes it makes it worse, you know. And I tell married people, invite singles over for lunch. Ask a single mom if she needs some help with her kids. Ask a single mom if she needs a daddy, a male, a man to come and help with the children, or take a son and go do some things with a young man because maybe the daddy's not there. So I just, for me, is, again, it goes back to that, you know, what am I doing in the meantime? I'm living life fully.
Yeah.
And I think by my Facebook page, as you see,
I would say,
I ain't there's no moss growing under my feet.
I was going to say, there is not any dust in your quarters.
I'm not sitting around boo-hoo, boo-hoo. Now, on those days it's tough, and those are to listen to this, male and female, because I know men they cry and they watch Hallmark too. Those days that are tough, and you're in the checkout line of Walmart buying 3 gallons of chocolate ice cream, you call your friends, you build community. You say, I need prayer because I got one more wedding announcement. I got another baby announcement.
Right.
And I can't function today. And so community is what gets me through it. Community.
I love that. That's so good. So powerful. And just hits right to that beginning pain point and need of loneliness and isolation. Anything that you found, especially during the last year and a half in our country, anything new or that we should be aware of for our single brothers and sisters?
Well, I would say a good many of them never got phone calls from anybody. There's a lot of people who are single for whatever reason, divorced, widowed, never married. They're not good at speaking up. Mm. They might speak up, but not to the right people. And so they're angry, they're hurt, they feel isolated, they feel like nobody cares. Their church might have already didn't have any type of ministry for singles. And so then COVID came along and they felt even more isolated. So one of my things I said every week, I had a Zoom Bible study. That's how I kept people connected, So every week I would say to the people on the Zoom, I want you to call somebody this week you haven't heard from or seen in a while. Go through your Facebook page and just, hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? And people are like, well, oh my gosh, what did they write back? Yeah, that's kind of the point. But then do one a week.
Yeah.
Contact somebody 1 week and say, I want to see if you're okay. Mm-hmm. So that was the biggest complaint that I heard. People just missed hugs and loves. This past weekend, we had a retreat in Lake Tahoe in California, and you ain't never seen so much hugging in your life. Mm-hmm. And I got so much love, and it was just this, you could sense just the longing for physical touch. Yes. And being in within 3 feet of people. Mm. And so I just know right now that I tell singles, just hang on. But I will say this, Tiffany, even through COVID, we got outside. So we couldn't do anything inside. You get outside, you have to walk 6 feet from each other. You walk 6 feet, but at least we were together. Yes. Don't let the enemy keep you by yourself. That's when you're vulnerable. That's when you're stupid. That's when you watch things you shouldn't be watching. Mm-hmm. That's when you're buying on QVC one more kitty cat knick-knack, right? You need 50, right? That's when you're eating too much food. Mm-hmm. And that's when the enemy lies to you the most. So you got to take care of you. Mm-hmm. You got to be responsible for you. You have to listen to the Holy Spirit tell you, what do you need to do today so that you don't let the enemy put you in a pit. And every day it's a fight. Every day. The Lord said, thy word is a lamp unto my feet. It's right around. It's where you can see right around you, right? Give us this day, our daily bread, not this week. So every day we come before the Lord and we fight the enemy because his goal is to kill you and destroy you. But God is to give you life.
Amen. Going back to that John 10:10. And I was just talking to somebody about that verse yesterday. And when it talks about the thief comes to steal, to kill, and destroy, that means you had something. Jesus paid the price already for that abundant life. You have all the goods. If you're not experiencing that, if you don't have the peace, if you don't have the joy, if you don't have the community, that's because it's being stolen from you, whether knowingly or unknowingly, a participant or not a participant. Yeah. And so there's so much that God has for you and wants for you to live well, even if you might be in the wait. Well, I know you have been in this space and in ministry in a wide variety of ways for decades and have recently created an amazing resource called Intentional Relationships. That's not just for singles, but really is about getting people to know people, help with this community, get healthy, and be led to the people that God has for their sphere. So could you tell us a little bit about Intentional Relationships?
Well, right now, that particular book is for singles, although we are working on one that's going to be for everyone because we're all dealing with boundaries and conflict and anger and forgiveness and pain and our identity and, and how God uses us. And so the inspiration behind it was that so many of my friends wanted to be married. In fact, I went to Israel and put a bunch of names on the Wailing Wall, and they were telling me to get out of the way because I was taking too long. I'm like, listen, I got a lot of friends. Okay. So, but so many want to be married, but most won't. And yet they have so much areas of their life that are not healed. They're not getting along with their kids, their friends, their family. They can't keep a job. And the same kinds of unhealthy behaviors were showing up even in my own life. I mean, God had me write it because I went through my own journey and still am. We all are. And so it's a 12-week study, and it's a pretty serious curriculum that makes you deal with your junk and to work on those relationships because we want the body of Christ to grow. So whether you get married or not, you're still good and you're better and the church is better. And as a result, the church grows and we reach more people for Jesus. When we're healthier, you can't pour out of an empty vessel. You know that. So many of us are pouring out of empty vessels, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, financially. financially. And so when we realize, wow, how can I even begin to witness or serve God when I'm depleted? So, and we're depleted for a variety of reasons. So if I can help you to identify those, that's one less hole, that hole in the end of the bucket. One of those just got filled in. And at some point in time, you'll get to a place and you'll begin to go, wait a minute, that's an attack of the enemy. He's trying to put a hole in my bucket. Wait a minute. I don't need that person in my life. That person is going to cause me to pull me from God. You know what? I need that person like Tiffany in my life that is going to actually help me grow towards God. So that's where we want to get people to, the place of identifying the enemy, that place of identifying those areas of our life that we haven't dealt with, and peel away the layers, get to the core of that hurt, get to the core of that anger, and then be grown up enough to go, you know what, I need divorce care. I need grief share. I need Celebrate Recovery, or I need a counselor. And as I say, pull up your big girl panties or your big boy briefs and get on with it. Make a decision to get healthier so that ultimately you're going to get to a place of peace, and you're going to be, God, I'm okay. Whatever you want to do with my life, I'm okay.
Yeah. I had a pastor that would always say the best gift you can give others is a healthy you.
Yes.
And that takes hard work for each one of us to get to that place. So one final question, what is your favorite thing about intentional relationships?
Oh my goodness. Well, there's a chapter 10 called Intentional Friendship, and it is by far, I think it's going to change the lives of singles and even to some degree, even married people, because whenever you meet somebody new, Tiffany, you have to make a decision. We as women, we meet women and we're like, and we're like, oh, you're my kindred spirit. I've just known you forever. And we're going to be best buds. And then about 2 weeks later go, oh my gosh, she's like an albatross. She's just like, she's hanging on. And we got ahead of God. We got ahead of God. And so even though this chapter is designed for singles to be an intentional friendships, I think there's even application to all of us, but it's a space between a generic friendship and dating. And it gives people permission to say, you know what, I don't know you very well. My church doesn't have a singles ministry, so I don't even know you through that. But I like to get to know you, but I want to protect my heart, and I don't want to date you. I just want to be your friend. But I don't want to be the friend zone friend, which is like you're rejecting them, but you're saying, I like you enough that I want to get to know you, but I'm not ready to date you. Because in the Bible, there's no dating. Your friends are your courtship for marriage. But if the church doesn't have singles ministry where I can get to meet singles, then how can I court? How can I go into that dating phase? So there's 650 questions in the back of the book that allows you to ask when you're ready to get to know somebody. And it also helps with those blind spots, Tiffany, because even in same-sex friends, even in married friends, there are things we don't know, we ignore, and there's red flags and yellow flags, and we just kind of ignore them because we have a need for someone in our life. We want a best buddy so bad. And then later on we find out they're codependent or they have emotional issues, and then we suffer for it. So again, it's all towards getting healthier.
Oh, so exciting. Well, y'all, I just know that that Kris has so much to offer and that y'all need to just check her out. So Kris, where are the top 1 or 2 places that they can find you if they want more?
Singles Ministry, the biggest website in the entire world for how to start and grow singles ministry is thesinglesnetwork.org. And then, of course, if you look at my name, I know it's hard to spell, but it's just Kris Swiatocho Ministries.org as well. And that'll get you to my overall speaking ministry, because I do women's, I do leadership development, and I do first impression ministry. And that'll get them to all the other websites and all the other resources.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming today. And y'all, I know you were blessed by Kris, and just hitting the surface of the single struggle and what we can be doing while we're single, what we can be doing to bring in our brothers and sisters who are single, and how we can better be a church and be healthy and love each other where we're at in the season that we're at. Thank you so much, Kris, for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Love you too, girl.
Yes, love you. All right, y'all, we'll see you next time, and be blessed. Well, friends, thank you for joining us today on All the Things TV video podcast. If you enjoyed our time together and are taking away a nugget that has inspired your soul and success, would you share this episode with a loved one who could use it too? And if you haven't already, take a moment to rate and review the podcast and help me spread soul care and dream care. Until next time, I'm Tiffany Jo Baker, a 3-time surrogate and strategizer who loves to help you birth your God-given dreams. Now go do all the things you've been called and created to do with the grace and gifts God has given you.